Lauri is lethal. Keyonte bounces back. And the Jazz had a moment. It's next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. It's certainly good to be a Jazz fan today after last night. Thank you for making Locked on Jazz your first listen, and thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you very much to Game Time. It brings you today's episode. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The everydayers out there, you're the best. Thank you. Wow, what a night. Double overtime win over the Chicago Bulls. And the Stars are stepping up. Lauri and Keonte, massive. Absolutely massive in this one. We're going to talk mostly about them, but there's a lot of other highlights. We'll get to our Trends Monday like we always do. Probably a little briefer today because so much focus on that game last night, but a lot of big steps for everybody with the Jazz and really big picture for a moment. When Austin Ames took over and sat in his press conference, the comment he made was our guys wanted to have hope and they wanted to try to win. And what you're trying, I'll talk about this all year. What you're trying to build is moments where the group believes. In the last 2 years, with a lot of the stuff that was going on, I don't think there were a lot of moments where Keonte, there was just so much other oxygen in the building as well, or people taking the oxygen. I don't think Keonte and Isaiah looked at each other and thought, we can do this. I don't think Keonte and Lauri and Keonte looked at each other together and were like, we can do this. These are the moments where this happens. They've had a few of them already. We're 13 games into the season, and they've had a few of these moments. Certainly Lauri and Key doing post-game together. Last night with Lauren Green, playing the two-man game the whole way. I opened the press conference with Will yesterday talking about how they are using a Lauri-Keonte pick and roll that they really haven't used very much at all. Lauri was about 5 picks a game, and now he's up to 14 or 15, and most of them are with Keonte. Last night, interestingly, most of them were with Collier, but the Jazz are using Lauri in a different way, but they're also using Keonte and Lauri together in a different way. And they're having these moments together. And that last night was a moment. It was for a lot for Keonte, and probably should be leading with Keonte. He hit the game winner. He bounced back from a developmental standpoint on the season. It's probably more about that than W's. That's a bigger story, but I've got to start with Lauri. Back-to-back 40-point games. Last guy to do it was Don. Before that, Karl Malone. He is in some rarefied air right now, and there's a lot of different aspects to this. The first one is the leadership piece that I think has taken Lauri some time to understand. And what I mean by that is Lauri is an introvert, not an extrovert. So he's not going to lead by yelling or doing anything else. And Will talked yesterday in the press conference. There were a lot of questions about Chicago about the fact that Lauri's body language has improved and that he is now leading. If you're going to lead by example, you've got to lead with a confidence. And what I saw last night from the Utah Jazz, using a baseball analogy, is when the Giants were great with Barry Bonds, or the Twins were great with Kirby Puckett, using old baseball analogies, or I'm sure the Dodgers today with any of their 23 guys, or Shohei Ohtani, or how the Yankees feel about having Aaron Judge. When you have that guy in your lineup, and it's how Minnesota feels every night with Ant, right? Like how Lakers feel with Luka. When you have that guy, everything else around you is easier to get done and feels like you have a chance and feels like you have an edge. When you hear the Jazz players talk about Lauri, they talk about how he's a 7-footer. They talk about how he can get a shot off from anywhere. They know they have an advantage. And that is giving, and Lauri's star quality right now is giving all of his teammates an increased confidence when he's out on the floor. And that's the first step of leadership. The other aspect is that Lauri's doing this in a stoic, workman's-like manner until he blocked Ayo Dosunmu's shot, and then he peered over the top of him which is not very Lauri-esque, but that tells you what he thinks about playing the Chicago Bulls. For those who do not know, Lauri was drafted originally by the Bulls. In his second or third year in the league, Jim Boylan was the head coach, and they gave him the reins, and they ran everything through him. And he went to the offseason believing it was going to be his team, and they changed their mind in the offseason and came back and changed his role completely, and that relationship went south from there. And then the Bulls didn't offer Lauri a worthy extension and basically dumped him to Cleveland for nothing. So if you don't think Lauri had some sort of absolutely wanting to go, I mean, the Bulls literally quit on Lauri Markkanen, which is a bonkers concept. The trade was Cleveland Cavaliers traded a second-round draft pick with Lauri Markkanen, the Chicago Bulls, and the Cavaliers traded Larry Nance to Portland, and Portland traded Derek Jones to Chicago. Yeah, they got Derek Jones Jr. for Lauri Markkanen because they quit on him, and he put it on their head last night. Freaking awesome. And that's leadership. Like, the guys all know that. They all saw that. They all saw a different Lauri last night. They knew what was coming. The other one on Lauri, by the way, like, just kind of a minor thing, but like, he's cashing $42 million worth of checks this year. Never before in his life has he done that. Not that his 17 last year was paltry, but you're not seeing anything different out of him. Right? In fact, you're seeing the opposite. The guy is in a different stratosphere money-wise, and he's rising to the occasion. It's pretty incredible. And we've talked about it all week long on Locked on Jazz. If you're an everydayer, you've heard it. Will has just changed the way he's getting the ball. Now, last night, they went back to running isolations for him. It had been a long time since they ran isolations for him. And one of the things that we had been talking about was the amount of 2-point shots that Lauri was taking this year. And how many of his 2-point shots were assisted. And one of the reasons is the Jazz had stopped running a place, I think the place called Stacked, or basically it's the big, depending what the matchup is they want to get, but just someone sets a pick, frees Lauri, he comes to the free throw line to get it, and he plays ISO. Lauri ran 9 isolations last night to moderate success. He had not run more than 3 isolations in any game all season until last night. So the Jazz really changed the way they were using Lauri last night for that matchup. The other one is Lauri and Isaiah ran 16 pick and rolls together. Like, I promise you that's the most. Lauri set more picks last night than any game he'd set all year. So these are subtle coaching things. Like, we can all, I know, and I don't want to get into like the Twitter world because it's not usually very smart. But, you know, everyone's like mad at Will Hardy for who he plays because it's easier this or that. Frankly, no one's talking about who he played the right way. But talk about coaching adjustments. Lauri set 31 picks last night. He had not set more than 19 in any other game all year. That was against Phoenix on the day where they torched Phoenix, and Lauri had 50. So Will and the coaching staff making some real adjustments in the game and altered the way they were using Lauri last night to the matchup into Chicago. Chicago, I asked Will about that pregame because of the fact that because Chicago was a bad pick and roll defensive team, and while we didn't run pick and roll, you kind of knew they were going to bring it. So Lauri is just the man right now in a really awesome manner. He's showing leadership. He's showing commitment. He's showing grit. He's playing off contact better than he's ever played. His shooting is ridiculous. The amount of guys can get 17 threes off in a game. I mean, just the ability to get 17 threes off in a game is astronomical. 33 shots last night. And then he kind of cringed about his efficiency. 47 points on 33 shots is fine, Lauri. It's actually fine. Jazz have got themselves a star. And I don't know how high he's rising up, but he is being used perfectly. And then his usage is being adjusted night to night by the coaching staff in a very impressive manner. The story of the night to me is we're in the third quarter and Keonte is awful. He is 2 of 14. He is having the night that, oh dear God, he has had so many times before. And he's getting frustrated. And he walks off the floor. And Will Hardy puts a hand on each hip and stops him and spends about 35 to 40 seconds with him before he gets to the bench. And that changed the night. We're talking about it next on Locked on Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, but also in Logan. The Chevys, not the Chevys are Americana. The Colorado and the Silverado trucks, everything you could ever ask for. And right now, 0% APR. And right now on the 2026 Chevy Silverado 1500 LT Crew Cab with Turbo Max engine. And you can also get about an $8,000 value in trade-ins, financing, engine credit, bonus credits, all sorts of amazing things. So great truck deals right now as we head into the winter. A little snow up in the mountains today for the first time in a while. Plus, you've got the crossovers and the SUVs, the Traverse, the Blazer, the Trailblazer, and then, of course, the signatures, the Tahoe and the Suburban. All there, plus the electric Blazer, Equinox, and Silverado, all part of the amazing lineup at Murdoch Chevy. Make sure you jump board. Email me first so that we can get you all set up with your Murdoch Chevy experience. Today's show is also brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood taking care. The new gold standard is at Robinhood. Sorry, apologize. My computer screen just totally froze on me. It's going to take me a second to get to where I need to get to, because I need to do this one correctly. Thank you very much for your patience. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, but every day, locking in on every opening. Beat your PR, beat it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with a Robinhood Legend advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Thanks so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen, and thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network. I'm going to make Key's night. I'm going to share it from a personal standpoint. So I've been rooting for Key all year. I think he's just delightful as a human. I think he's putting the work and the effort. I think he's growing up before our eyes, and it's super cool to watch. I think he's a really good kid. And frankly, when he first came, I thought he was a surly, grumpy kid. So it's really nice to see that change. His first year with us, his eyes were down and he didn't communicate and he didn't say anything. And this is a totally different kid who's just made huge strides and tried to figure out how to be really, really good. And it's been going really well this year. And there's been this kind of underlying thing that none of us wanted to talk about, that his shooting percentage was not good again. And there is an element with Keonte that frankly, like, the ball has to go in. I've said this a million times, like everything else, but the ball at some point, the ball has to go in. And so we went to commercial break last night at one point. I think Key is 2 of 14, 1 of 7 from 3, right about that moment. And for those who are listening to the Arena Cast, which is the in-arena broadcast with no lag that you can get every night inside the arena, Ron and I don't go to break. And I was just really open with Ron. I was like, how concerned should we be about the fact the ball's not going in? And and all of a sudden he was having a bad night. And I was just like, oh no. Like, there was really, like, truly an element in me that was like, oh no. And it's right about this moment that Keonte comes off the bench and Will Hardy stops him, literally puts both hands on his hips, and they talk for a long time, 30 to 45 seconds, a long time on the floor before huddle. I mean, they really spent some time. And I look over and I look at Keonte's stats for the season at the point. He's shooting 40% from the field and 28% from 3. And I mean, it's still kind of the same. He actually jumped to 41% just with his performance. And then he clicked back in. And he did all the things he's done this year so well. He went to the free throw line, I think, another 9 times after that. He's making decisions late in games. 10 times after that. He hit all 10. I mean, his free throw shooting this year is incredible. He's at 93% from the line. He's like one of the league leaders. And then I also thought at the end of, I will be just being totally transparent, I thought he made one of the worst plays I've seen him make all year at the end of the first half, where I thought he very selfishly drove to the basket with 9 seconds left because he wanted a basket because he was struggling, and it gave another possession back the other way. Like, you just can't do that. And it was just like, oh no, like, no. Every wart that you had in the last 2 years that we thought had gone away showed up, and they're back. And I was like literally kind of brokenhearted. And then he stepped up, and it's so cool to see. And his post-game press conference yesterday was 9 minutes of him being completely mature and confident and honest and interesting and delightful. And he talked about how, a lot of what's helping him is watching games. Like, this kid watches basketball and is really smart basketball and smart kid generally. And he's growing up, and he's unpacking, and he's buying in. And it's really an impressive. Everything he's doing is impressive. And in such kind of different and mature way. The questions in the postgame from everyone, rightfully so, were like, do you win this game a year ago? And there's no way to really answer that question. But it's not that they don't win this game last year. It's not close. That's the answer to the question. The answer to the question is not that they don't win this game last year. The game never gets to overtime last year. When they dropped down 16 last year and Keonte's 2 of 14, he's done. And he even admitted post-game that late game stuff in the past, he had a tendency, if he made a mistake, he would hold on to it for the whole time. And now he's working through it. He wasn't perfect at the end of the last night. He had one possession that Ron Boone was like, oh gosh. And then I don't know what he was supposed to do when they triple teamed him, and he just dove down around the ball trying to protect it to get a foul call. Instead, he got a jump ball. Only thing I think he could have done is swing around a little bit. I really don't have any idea what he's supposed to do on that. The ending moment when he hits the three and he and Collier chest bump is what this whole season's about. Those moments of belief and togetherness and what they're going to be able to do. But Key starts the night 2 of 14 and then closes the night 8 of 13. Super big time. Collier comes up, plays with the ball in his hands, relieves some of the pressure on Key. But for the most part, Key was at the helm, making the late game decisions, understanding where the play was supposed to go, working with Lauri, Lauri working back to him. There's a play where Lauri literally tells him to take it. Lauri's probably was gassed. I've never seen Lauri so tired. And the kid's growing up before our eyes, and it's what this whole season's about, and it's super fun to watch. And yes, the ball needs to go in at some point. Like, let's not hide behind this. In 22 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, and efficient, by the way, because of the fact that he is going to the free throw line so much. But yes, at some point here, very soon, and Ron, when I asked Ron about it, he said, I wouldn't worry about it unless it's happening in January. And I said, well, my devil's advocate to that is that it's been happening for 155 games. But I generally think Ron's right. Like, let's see. The off-the-bounce three is the problem right now. He's shooting 27.7% from three. That's not good enough. Let's not hide and just get so excited about everything else going on. But everything else that's going on is great. The maturity, the defensive effort, the adaptation of his game, the change of his shot chart, the going to the free throw line 8 times a game instead of 4, the shooting 50% on twos instead of 45%. The rim finishing is better. The strength is better. The understanding the rules of the game, the picking the time and when to make plays in the post on the floor is better. Everything is better. And it's super cool to see. And he's doing it with a higher usage rate. His assist rate has gone from 27 to 33%. His foul drawing rate has gone from 12% to 18%. Like, it's awesome. Everything he's doing is great. The one thing that's not happening is the ball's going in, but that will happen. I do believe that everything about it looks good. But more importantly, what we saw last night was a maturity to get through a difficult game that, frankly, we have never seen before, that I can remember. Maybe we've forgotten. But if it was a one-off. That was different last night. That was him working with sports psychologists, working with mental coaches, trusting Will Hardy, being in the same place for 3 years for the first time since 7th grade, believing in himself, that the work he's putting in the work, and then having that in his back pocket to believe in it and to hold on it. That's what we saw out of Keonte George last night. And he said it in postgame. He says, I know it's cliche, which, by the way, it was nice that we had an athlete who used the phrase cliche correctly. Impressive. And he said it. I know it's cliche, but I just trust my work. But you have to have done the work to trust it. And he did it this offseason in a way that I don't think he'd ever done it before because he didn't know how to. This is also where, like, Isaiah's been great this year. Really, really great. But also, this is where I believe players improve year 2 to year 3. This is when they improve. This is when they make the jump. Though it's interesting seeing the Bulls last night. The Bulls had a bunch of players who have really non-traditional developmental stretches. So very, very interesting to see all of that. All right. A few more notes and then Trends Monday. I got too many stuff to do all of Trends Monday. But I do have a few more notes I want to get to on player performances last night. Really, Brice, again, year three, and we're seeing Brice make some really nice strides. That was a big time game for Brice Sensabaugh last night. A surprising call out I'll give as well on next on Locked on Jazz. Today's edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the official ticketing app of Locked On, and with the code Locked On NBA, you can get $20 off your first purchase. With Game Time, basketball season's officially here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those games. How about that last night if you were there? Sunday night crowd. Will Hart even toasted to the crowd afterwards for what effort they were. It was great. Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, fast and easy and stress-free. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find tickets to events for under $25, and prices drop as you get closer to the game. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL or college or concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, better than ever. Late games everywhere. And the official sports betting partner of the NBA is FanDuel. Even if you missed the start of a game, want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from where we'll score to the next fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm not allowed to, but I'm also not a sports bettor, but I am a line watcher, and I'm super curious to watch this Jazz-Lakers line because I want to see what value LeBron has, or if they already have it couched in. I think we're going to see LeBron for his first appearance of the year in the Jazz-Lakers game, and I'm curious to see how the line jumps. So keep an eye on it at FanDuel.com, and then FanDuel.com, $5 first bet, win $300 in bonus bets. If you are going to a Jazz game this year, you can listen to the broadcast lag-free, right, real time in the arena. First time we've ever done this. Plus, you get the all-access arena cast with Ron Boone and I. During the broadcast, we do not go to breaks. So we chat with you, or you hear us talking, or you hear me talking to my producer. Unfortunately, I found out you can't hear our producer. Our producer's awesome. I was hoping you could hear him, but you can't hear Jamil. I just found that out last night. I thought this whole time you could hear Jamil making fun of me or me making fun of Jamil, which is super fun part of our broadcast. So you can be all a part of it inside the arena. Bring noise-canceling headphones, work better. Stop by Section 7 in the arena, right by our broadcast booth, and we'll give you all the details. We're hoping to make it easier for you in the upcoming days. So we have that for you each and every night. Just want to shout out a few guys. Brice played 28 minutes. Will thinks he played like the final 20 without checking out. He had an offensive rebound. He had a sick wraparound pass to Lauri for 3 that was the play of the night. He had the key offensive rebound that kept the game alive in either the overtime or the first overtime or the regulation. I think it was regulation. He dove on the floor to make a play. He defended his better than he has in other games. And then he missed his first 2 or 3 shots and was unfazed by it and hit 4 of 7 to finish the night and hit some monster threes. And then went one-on-one from the elbow in a game that was exactly his Ohio State Buckeye game. Like, this is what's neat here for Brice, if Brice can add in the hustle and the rebounding and some defensive presence and that kind of stuff that really has never been a part of his game, but keep his other part of his game, then you got a player. And again, you got a guy in his third year. Like, let's let our guys have time to develop. He got a guy in his third year. The other one is Cody's still struggling, and he went 0 for 4 and 0 for 2 from 3. And it's a lot of. Cody also, I thought, had 3 defensive possessions last night on Coby White, where I thought he really stymied him. And I was super impressed by him. He guarded Coby White for about 3 minutes last night, and Coby White did not score him. I think he went 0 for 1 or 0 for 2 or turned it over one other time. Actually, I have the numbers right here. Coby White went 0 for 4, 0 for 2 from 3 when guarded by Cody Williams last night. That matters. I actually thought that as much as anything changed the game, and I have to go back and see when it was, but my memory while it was happening, and I'm not great at this. This is why I usually go back and rewatch every game, but did not rewatch last night for various logistical travel today, packing reasons. But because I wanted to see when that was, because my feeling was it was right when the Bulls went up to their kind of 12-point lead. They were up. It was my memory is it's in the third quarter, and they're up 11 or 12, and Coby White's trying to go get his, and they're kicking our ass, frankly, at that point. And I thought Cody Williams stood up Coby White for those possessions. I think he fouled him once in there, but White goes kind of 0 for 4 or 5 in that 0 for 3, maybe 0 for 2 in that stretch. And it goes from, my memory is it goes from a 12-point game to about a 4-point game, and then it's a 4-point game at the end of the quarter. And I thought that was actually a really, really important stretch of the basketball game. So wanted to give that shout out there that, yeah, Cody's struggling. He's got to figure it out offensively, and it doesn't look particularly close. But that was those were big moments right there where he really made some very, very good plays. And I thought swung the game a little bit. All right, Mondays, we do Trends Monday, which is where things are going. We're kind of now deep enough into the season where we can actually look at this a little bit. And what we look at is the first thing we look at is the last 10 games. And then we take a second, and after we have the last 10 games, then we look at the last 2 weeks, which is a little bit of a smaller sample size. So over the last 10 games, the best team in the NBA, no surprise, is Oklahoma City. Their net rating is an 18. The second best is Houston. Their net rating is a 15. Denver is third best at 14. Phoenix is after that at 11. They lost last night. And Atlanta, without Trae Young, is fifth. Quinn Snyder's got that team playing like he wants them to play. Detroit is right after that. So Western Conference is the top 4 and 5 of the top 7. Teams that are struggling in that time period: Washington's a minus 18. Indiana's a minus 16. Sacramento is minus 14. Pelicans are minus 14, and they don't have their pick. Brooklyn is minus 11, and Memphis is minus 10. There are some teams that have really fallen off the rails. Like, I don't know how Memphis saves this thing. They've lost 8 of 10. I don't know how Sacramento saves this thing. They've lost 8 of 10. Brooklyn is intended to be there. Indiana is now going to be there. Those teams, for those of you who wanted us in the bottom 5, it's going to be hard. And for us to be safe on draft night is going to be hard. Like, this is not the direction people expected this season. Over the last 10 games, the number 1 offensive team in the league is Houston. They're grabbing 41% of their offensive rebounds. Knicks are number 2. Denver's 3. That's what our points gained when the season started. Said Denver would be dramatically better than everybody offensively. I don't have a method to count for 41% offensive rebounds. Minnesota's 4th and Oklahoma City's 5th. Phoenix is 6th. Teams that are having a hard time scoring: Indiana, Memphis, Dallas, Washington, New Orleans, and Sacramento. The Warriors are actually down there as well. Best defensive team in the league is Oklahoma City. Denver's 2nd. That one's interesting, largely because teams are just not shooting well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Phoenix is the 3rd best defensive team in the league. So Phoenix really playing well. Atlanta's 4th best without Trae Young. And Detroit is 5th. Dallas is 6th. Teams that are not defending: Washington, Sacramento, despite Doug Christie's quest for it, Brooklyn, Philly, New Orleans, Charlotte, and the LA Clippers. Let's take a quick look at the last 2 weeks on that and see what we can find and see if there's any different trends on it. Usually they're similar, but sometimes you can see something else coming. The number 1 team over the last 2 weeks, Oklahoma City, followed by Toronto. Keep an eye on Toronto. Oh, wait a sec. Last 2 weeks. Yeah, Toronto. And Darko's really a good coach. Keep an eye on Toronto. In the last 2 weeks, Toronto is the fourth best offense, third best defense. Denver's the third best point differential. New York, fourth. Houston, fifth. And Phoenix, sixth. The worst are Indiana, Washington, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Memphis, and the Clippers. I don't think the Clippers pull out of this either, by the way. Number one offense in the last 2 weeks, New York, followed by Denver, Phoenix, Toronto, Minnesota, and Oklahoma City. Teams that are struggling to score, Memphis is the worst, followed by, and that is just not a great sign for them, followed by Indiana, Sacramento, Washington, Dallas, and New Orleans. What did Memphis make a coaching mistake? What happened there? Trading Desmond Bain? John Morant's just not, wow. Memphis, Indiana, Sacramento, Washington, Dallas, New Orleans are the teams not scoring. Best defensive team, Oklahoma City by a mile, by 7 points per 100 possessions. I mean, they've broken the code. Detroit, Toronto, Atlanta, Denver, and Houston are the 6 best defensive teams in the league. Recently, the teams not defending: Washington, Indiana, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Portland, and LA. That's your Trends Monday. That's your Locked on Jazz. What a win. Talk to you from LA tomorrow morning. I think we'll see LeBron. I think we'll see Luka. I think we'll see Austin Reeves. I think it'll be a tough task because they're a huge pick and roll team, and we are not a good pick and roll defense right now. So this one could be as tough a task as we have, but who knows with this group, because they believe and they're playing with hope and they're playing together. It is Locked on Jazz. Have a great one. Thanks so much for tuning in. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked on NBA. And make sure you check out Game Night. Every game, every night. We also have a Game Night on NFL. That's awesome.